The Sisterhood Revolution: Why Collaboration Trumps Competition. I want to begin today by acknowledging the extraordinary woman whose insights sparked this entire conversation. Tonia Gibbons is not just a visionary, she's a revolutionary in the truest sense. When I interviewed her recently, the wisdom she shared didn't just change my perspective, it fundamentally rewired how I understand power dynamics among women. Her decades of work building bridges instead of barriers has transformed communities across three continents. What makes Tanya remarkable isn't just her brilliance, it's her relentless commitment to proving that when women unite, systems that once seemed immovable begin to crack and crumble. Have you ever noticed how we're conditioned to believe there's only room for one woman at the table, one Black woman in the boardroom, one sister with the microphone? That scarcity mindset isn't an accident, it's by design. But what if I told you the most radical act of resistance isn't fighting for that one seat, but building a longer table? This is what Tonya Gibbons helped me understand. This is the revolution happening right now in communities across the globe, and is changing everything. When we look at the landscape of leadership, politics, and business, we've been sold this narrative that women, especially Black women, must compete for limited opportunities, that we should view each other's success with suspicion rather than celebration, that there's not enough sunshine for all our gardens to grow. But that's a lie, a dangerous, isolating lie. The truth: when women collaborate instead of compete, mountains move, systems change, communities heal. I want to take you on a journey through three powerful stories that Tanya shared with me. Real examples of what happens when women, particularly Black women, reject the competition model and embrace collaboration instead. The first story takes us to New Jersey, where something remarkable is happening. The New Jersey Black Women's Collective launched a leadership institute specifically designed to develop executive level leadership among Black women across various sectors. Now, this wasn't just another professional development program with fancy binders and forgettable icebreakers. This was revolutionary in its approach. Why? Because they recognized a fundamental truth. Black women face systemic barriers to leadership opportunities. They often lack access to authentic mentorship or safe space for vulnerability. The traditional leadership pipeline wasn't just leaking for these women, it was never properly connected to begin with. So, what did they do? They partnered with Mercer County Community College to create a curriculum led by expert facilitators. But here's the key difference: instead of fostering competition among participants, the kind that has women sizing each other up from the moment they enter a room, they deliberately created a collaborative environment. The results were transformative. Graduates emerged with stronger networks, greater confidence in their leadership identities, and skills that allowed them to redefine what leadership looks like in every room they enter. One participant put it this way: for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to shrink myself or compete with the other women in the room. We were all rising together. This program stands as a model for how institutions can partner with community organizations to build diverse pipelines into leadership roles. But more importantly, it demonstrates how intentionally designed collaborative environments empower Black women without fostering the antagonism that so often comes with scarcity thinking. Let's travel now to rural Colombia's Choco region, where another powerful example unfolds. Kokoma Siaya, a group led by Afro Colombian women, works collectively on peace building through workshops on rights advocacy and community care. These women face persistent violence, discrimination, and lack of political participation opportunities. The challenges are immense, but instead of competing for limited resources or recognition, these women leaders organize dialogues about land ownership rights while creating inclusive forums open to all community members, regardless of gender or status. They use cultural tools like music as unifying forces. Their collaborative approach yielded extraordinary results. Landmark legislative changes, such as Law 1257 against violence and discrimination toward women, recognition by courts granting legal personhood status and thus protection to vital natural resources like the Atrato River, which sustains local life. Years of grassroots organizing built trust across divided groups. Leaders traveled extensively along riversides, connecting isolated communities under shared goals rather than rivalry. As Comisionada Rubiela Cuesta Cordoba powerfully stated, the best legacy is resistance. These collaborations fostered peace building models, now studied globally as effective approaches centered on women's solidarity instead of antagonism. Our third story brings us back to the United States, specifically to Florida. The Democratic African American Women's Caucus, DAUC, was founded by Leslie Wimes with support from Wendy Sejour and Mayor Daisy Black. Their mission: to mobilize political engagement among Florida's Black female electorate while tackling issues unique to this demographic group. Despite high voter turnout rates among Black women compared with other groups nationwide, they remain underrepresented politically, due largely to systemic exclusionary practices and intra-community divides over limited seats at decision-making tables. But Doubts took a different approach. They prioritized coalition building over individual advancement, increasing candidate recruitment and training efforts statewide, plus advocating policy shifts relevant specifically for Black women's lived experiences. The outcomes speak volumes: greater visibility and influence within state and federal elections, even credited with swinging pivotal gubernatorial races, inspired similar caucuses beyond Florida aiming at national scale mobilization. After observing consistent electoral engagement not translating into real power, the founders pivoted focus from competing internally towards amplifying collective voice externally via structure support systems. Today, the fastest growing segment within US based business market owned by any demographic group is now attributed directly back toward these kinds of collaborative organizing strategies rather than competitive infighting. DAWC has redefined what it means for marginalized voices, not just being present, but actively shaping policies affecting entire communities through unity driven action models, rather than zero sum gamesmanship inside politics and business spheres alike. What Tonia Gibbons helped me understand through these examples is that collaboration isn't just a nice idea, it's a strategic imperative. It's how real sustainable change happens. When we step back and examine these stories, three powerful truths emerge. First, collaboration over competition is the pathway to true empowerment. When women, especially Black women, choose to uplift each other, share resources, and cheer for one another's successes instead of seeing them as threats, we build stronger networks and safer space for growth. As Tonya emphasized, the myth of scarcity keeps us fighting over crumbs when we could be baking whole loaves together. Second, authenticity is power. Spaces where women can show up authentically without fear of judgment or competition are essential. Being unapologetically yourself not only strengthens you, but also inspires others to embrace their own truth. In the New Jersey Leadership Institute, participants reported that the ability to be vulnerable and authentic with other Black women leaders was often the most transformative aspect of the program. One graduate noted, I didn't have to code switch or perform, I could just be. And in that being, I found my power. Third, intentional inclusion matters. Creating deliberate events and platforms that empower Black women, especially in arenas where they have been historically excluded, is a catalyst for broader change within industries and communities. This isn't about tokenism or checking boxes. It's about recognizing that diverse perspectives lead to better outcomes for everyone. When we create space specifically designed for those who have been marginalized, we're not just helping individuals, we're strengthening entire systems. So, where do we go from here? How do we take these insights from Tonia Gibbons and transform them into action? The revolution I'm describing isn't some distant ideal. It's happening right now in community centers and boardrooms, in rural villages and urban neighborhoods. And you, yes, you are being called to join it. I challenge you to do something disruptive tomorrow. Reach out to a woman you viewed as competition and propose collaboration instead. Send that email to the colleague whose success made you feel threatened. Call that woman in your industry you've been avoiding because you're both fighting for the same opportunities. This isn't just about being nice. This is about being strategic. This is about recognizing that the systems designed to keep us competing were never designed for our collective liberation. When we choose collaboration over competition, we're not just changing our individual trajectories, we're dismantling the very structures built to limit us. We're not just claiming our seat at the table, we're rebuilding the entire house. As you leave this talk today, I want you to remember the most revolutionary act you can commit is to refuse the scarcity mindset, to reject the notion that another woman's success diminishes your own, to recognize that in a world designed to isolate us, coming together is the ultimate rebellion. In the powerful words Tanya shared with me, when we compete, we may win battles, but when we collaborate, we change the entire war. The sisterhood revolution isn't just coming, it's here. The only question that remains is, will you join us?